London. Officers removed him from the Ecuadorian embassy, where he'd been living for almost 7 years as he sought refuge to avoid extradition. Mr Assange is due to appear at Westminster Magistrates Court shortly. A warning: Naomi Grimley's report now does contain some flashing images.
Blinking into the daylight, Julian Assange was bundled out of the Ecuadorian embassy, visibly aged, after being inside since 2012. The Metropolitan Police arrested him after being invited inside by the Ecuadorian government shortly after 10 a.m. The Foreign Office said the two governments had worked together on the case to get to this stage.
What we've shown today is that no one is above the law. Julian Assange is no hero. He is hidden from the truth for years and years, and it is right that his future should be decided in the British judicial system.
Mr Assange first came to prominence with the release of this video in 2010.
Come on, fire!
It showed a US helicopter launching an airstrike on a group of Iraqi civilians, including 2 journalists. His WikiLeaks website then leaked hundreds of classified intelligence documents from the Afghanistan and Iraq wars. And then more leaks, this time classified diplomatic cables, causing red faces in Washington. Then a twist in this extraordinary story. Mr Assange found himself in a prison van and then in court after Sweden issued an arrest warrant, hoping to question him over allegations made by 2 Swedish women of sexual assault, allegations he denies. Soon, to his supporters' delight, he was out on bail.
Well, it's great to smell fresh air of London again.
Under his bail conditions, he lived in this manor house in Norfolk, owned by a friend. He took his appeal against extradition to Sweden to the highest court in the land, but eventually in 2012 he lost. The Ecuadorian embassy in London became his new home. He walked through its doors 7 years ago, asking for political asylum. For the UK government, Mr Assange was a fugitive from justice. It spent millions policing the embassy before the round-the-clock guard was lifted. In 2017, Mr Assange appeared at the balcony, happy that the Swedish investigation against him was dropped because prosecutors could not pursue the case in his absence. But relations between Mr Assange and his hosts badly soured. The new Ecuadorian president described him as a stone in the shoe. He had new conditions imposed on his stay, including that he avoided online political activity. Mr Assange always claimed that if he was delivered into UK hands for jumping bail, he'd inevitably face charges in America. Today, he has indeed been arrested on behalf of the US, which wants to extradite him.
The case now moves to the question of free speech. Julian Assange published enormous amounts of information. Not a week goes by when WikiLeaks material isn't mentioned in serious discussions of American policy.
In the last hour, this car arrived at court with a man hiding under a coat, thought to be Julian Assange. Naomi Grimley, BBC News.
Well, let's join Daniel Sanford, who's at Westminster Magistrates Court in central London, where Mr Assange is due to appear. Daniel, what are we expecting to happen there?
Well, Julian Assange is now in the building here at Westminster Magistrates Court. That's been confirmed by court staff. The court doesn't normally sit at lunchtime, so we expect a hearing to start sometime after 2 o'clock. And it's now become clear that he'll be appearing in court on 2 matters. First of all, failing to surrender to bail. That was a warrant issued in June 2012 when he sought asylum in the Ecuadorian embassy and therefore breached his bail conditions. That will have to be dealt with by the magistrate here or the district judge that presides over the case. But we now know that he's also now being charged under a US extradition warrant issued in December 2017, and that relates to allegations that he conspired with Bradley Manning, now known as Chelsea Manning, to dump that enormous archive of documents and videos in 2010. So it'll be a short hearing, we expect, and I think you can assume that Julian Assange will spend tonight in prison. Very unlikely he'll get bail.
Daniel, thank you. Daniel Sanford.